All right, everyone, we start off today with a treat. Chuck Schumer just became Tuck Schumer. Yes, indeed. He backed down on stopgap funding. And boy, oh boy, aren't there a lot of Democrats and liberal commentators mad at him. Link in the description, archive, of course. Of course, we were facing the possibility of a shutdown in the government. With Schumer as the de facto Senate party leader, with only a simple majority in the House necessary, which the Republicans control, basically the only hurdle that you had to cross for a stopgap spending bill, which I have my reservations about, admittedly, many people have pointed this out, um, will pass through. With Chuck Schumer aboard, it's pretty much inevitable. There's not going to be any particular delay. Now, this is a stopgap bill, so this is not a full-on budget. This is to keep the government open for a temporary period of time while the bigger budget is negotiated. In that sense, I would rather just pass it to avoid all of the pitfalls and problems of trying to get the bill negotiated when you're hot under the collar. And this is also, I don't think it has anything to do with Schumer warming to Trump or anything like that. I have seen some people claiming that, like, oh, Schumer is secretly on Trump's team. No. Schumer is trying to preserve his job because unlike many other Democrats that are becoming far too geriatric or far too baggage-laden to run for re-election, Chuck Schumer, as the more innocuous Democratic Party leader, is simply seeking to maintain his Senate seat. So what he's doing is he's saying, okay, we're going to try to work something out. Because quite clearly, and he's more strategic too, quite clearly things have gone wrong with the budget negotiations. We need to do something about this, but we need more time. In order to kick the can down the road, and by that time, a stopgap funding bill makes sense from a strategic standpoint. You'll note the same Democrats that are bitching about it are the same Democrats I've referred to dozens and dozens of times on this channel, the non-pragmatists. The uniparty Democrats are evil, but they understand, number one, how to win an election, and number two, how to negotiate. These are important things when you are in politics. The same is true of the Republicans. The unipartyist Republicans, oddly enough, the uniparty Dems are the ones that understand strategy. It's the uniparty Republicans that typically don't. They fumble the ball when they intercept it effectively. Imagine a football team, but it's the short bus football team. You literally hand the football to them and they just drop it on the ground. That's the typical Republican. The MAGA Republicans, meanwhile, are the pragmatic and sane ones that want to do a soft reset of the party, of the country, and actually get elected. The unipartists like Mitch McConnell, they don't comprehend this concept. On the Democratic side, it's the unipartiist Democrats that have a strategic sense. It's the left-wing minority and a handful of progressives, so-called, really regressives. They're the ones that don't understand political strategy. They just don't get it. It's impossible for them to understand how to actually run for federal office. Most of them are relegated to districts or states that are far left to begin with, and they think that this translates to a national platform. Bernie Sanders from my own home state of Vermont had exactly the same problem. And I pointed this out at the time when he was running, both times for the presidency. I'm like, look, Bernie, Vermont is far left. Of course you're going to win this state, especially since you're from this state. And you can do well in a place like California, maybe New York, to an extent, although I don't even remember if he won New York, if I remember correctly. And you can do well in certain rural enclaves. But in the states that actually matter, you're going to get absolutely gobsmacked. And he did. He got crushed by the Biden campaign. He got crushed by the Hillary campaign. There was a reason for that. It's because she appealed to a broader segment of moderate voters that are not D or R. They're simply non-committal. They're trying to listen to the issues. Bernie took a Vermont platform, which works very well in this state, but it doesn't work very well in some other parts of the country. It didn't work very well, for example, in places like Michigan or New Jersey. So far blue, Can't grab those because, of course, he's an also-ran at that point. And the earlier states, he didn't do particularly well there because the state's demographics leaned in the direction of Hillary Clinton. This happens all the time. It's like the two parties have inverted. I like how people say, well, the parties inverted back some decades ago, on segregation and similar issues or whatever. And it's a magical fallacy because it has absolutely nothing to do with the modern demographic structure at all. But now we're seeing, I think, at least in the civic sense, an authentic inversion. The Republicans mainly had been the party of stupid, and the Democrats were the party of evil. That's sort of being rebalanced because you have more far-left Democrats that are fucking retarded, and you have more Republicans that are actually sensible, but at the same time, there are some traits of authoritarianism in some cases. Now, I don't extend that to like a Rand Paul or a Donald Trump or a Massey, but it is there, admittedly speaking. But that strategic balance is beginning to shift. My hope is that the Republicans will not take their victories as evidence that they need more government. Thankfully, right now, it appears that the Republican Party has reverted back to a small government party. You look at what's happening right now with, for example, the USPS, which we will be covering later in a separate video, or the IRS, the Department of Education, and so forth, shrinking the bureaucracy. This can only help us. When people, they howl at the moon practically and run around like animals screaming about how kids will stop getting an education, you'll stop getting your mail, oh my God, people will cheat on their taxes. It's not going to happen. What we're doing is trying to streamline government and show people you don't need all of those federal employees. It's not necessary. It never was necessary. The agencies grew over time, but they never got more efficient. So, if you get 5 people doing the same job, 4 people can get fired now, can't they? I think that that's a no-brainer. Or at least fire 2 of them, maybe 3. Okay, you can have a work buddy in your office or something like that. But why are we paying these other people's salaries at great taxpayer expense? I would note, by the way, the Democrats have shattered right now and broken rank on another issue. Elizabeth Warren was the foreshock of this. Some Democrats actually tacitly agree with Doge insofar as it involves defense spending. I happen to agree. I'm literally in the same camp as Elizabeth Warren on that particular issue. She's like, well, yeah, it's like $200 billion here we could save from the Department of Defense. Well, she's got a good idea for once. Hell keeps freezing over every single day at this point in the news cycle. I agree. You don't need to pay $2,000 to have a toilet lid installed on a nuclear submarine. It's just not necessary. The troops will jury-rig it themselves, carve their own friggin' toilet seat for $10 worth of supplies at Home Depot. It's not going to be a big difference. It's not necessary to spend that kind of money. We're saving money hand over fist already, and we're not even 2 months into the goddamn administration. I'm very happy about this. So, when I see that Schumer backs down on the stopgap budget funding, this is a good thing. It means negotiations are ongoing. There won't be a shutdown. I mean, we don't need a government shutdown in the furlough of federal workers anyway, because half of them seem to be getting fired to begin with. We're saving billions and billions of dollars already. Courts are trying to step in and keep us spending that money, but ultimately those cases, I believe, generally will be solved in favor of the Trump administration. What they're trying to do is use motions of continuance and things like that to slow the process down, to kick the can down the road past what? The midterms. That's exactly what they're trying to do. They think if they can stall Trump out for the next 2 years, roughly, then they can take the House and Senate in the midterms. And basically, they'll run a campaign pretending, by the way, to be conservatives, disaffected with Trump. Oh, they'll all be burner accounts, by the way, for the most part. Say, well, Trump is ineffective. I like his ideology, but he hasn't done anything. That's what they're going to do. Again, completely formulaic. The lawfare and the distraction campaign meshed together absolutely is going to happen. There's a 0% chance that it doesn't. I think all of you see it coming as well. We need to inoculate people proactively and tell them that this is what's going to go on. The prediction, it's not even really a prediction, it's just a statement of fact. We know what their strategy will be. They don't have a party leader. Who's going to lead them? Gavin Newsom? Chuck Schumer, who just, popped on the stopgap bill? Pelosi, who might not even last long enough to run in the midterms? Who knows? They don't have one right now. They may be crazy enough, based on how they're acting, the Democrats might actually be insane enough to run Kamala Harris again. Think about that one for a moment and ask yourself if this is a sane party or an insane one. Are they being mature or are they acting like kindergartners in a debate class? Unfortunately for them, I think it, at the moment, is the latter. That's about all. Peace out.